So the most distilled version of the Apex metadata, so the tables that exist that describe your Apex applications and its environment, are kind of this little tree here on the right-hand side of the screen. So when working with Apex, there are two kind of ways to logically isolate what's happening. So we have a workspace, and a workspace is basically where you build applications. So before you can even build an app, you first have to create a workspace. And this is going to have, I'd say when you first get started with Apex, you're likely just going to have a single workspace that you log into, which contains all of your applications. As your Apex development, your team matures, you might create more workspaces, but it's likely that you'll still only have one. I would say it's very most common scenario is that you have one workspace, which you develop all your applications in. Once you create a workspace, you can create an application. And again, an application is also a bit like a logical container. It just says, here's the name of my application, and here's maybe here's some information to describe what my application is, very high level. But before you actually see anything, before you can actually give some visual feedback to the user, you have to create a page. And so a page is kind of the primary building block of your applications. You're going to have many of them. You're going to have a page, you're very likely you're going to have a page to log into the application. You're going to have a page to maybe display, a page to hold a report to display some data, a page to hold a form to capture some data. So understanding what a page is and how to modify them is something very core to building Apex applications. And expanding upon that, pages can have many different regions, right? So you might have a main region in the center, a header on the top, a sidebar on the right or the left, and so a breadcrumb along the top. Regions are displayable components in your application. And then a region can hold any number of items and buttons. So an item generally is collecting input, right? So you could say, you could ask for what someone's name is. They would type in their name into the item or an input. And if they want to save that or maybe create something, they would click on a button, right? So if you wanted someone to be able to change their username, right? So you'd make an item to accept the username and another button and a button to kind of save the changes. So items generally collect input from the user, and buttons tend to trigger actions from the user. Just to be clear, we're going to walk through we're going to start from the very top and kind of work our way through this tree here. So we're going to start with workspaces and then continue on down through all the way down to items and buttons.